In this video, we're going to learn about method chaining, which is where we call one method after another in succession without first assigning the result to a new variable. So with strings, most methods return another string. There are some exceptions like count and split methods. So count returns an integer, split returns a list of strings. So what we can do, if we want to call many methods in a row, we can do this thing called method chaining. So let me show you that with this particular string over here. It's called test string, and I'm going to execute the cell so they can have this variable available. Let me go ahead and start a new line. So what I'm going to show you is I'm going to call many different methods to do several different things to this string, and do so first without method chaining and then show you how it's done with method chaining. So I'm going to call these four methods. So the rstrip method, what this does is it starts on the right hand side and it will strip off any characters that you give it. So rstrip just stands for right. There's an lstrip, you want to start from the left, and then just a strip method that does from both sides. So let's say I want to get rid of this punctuation, and this will go from the right hand side and continue to remove any of these characters until it reaches a character that does not match the ones you give it. So that's rstrip. So let me go ahead and execute this, and you can see all of those question mark and exclamation marks from the right hand side have been removed. Now, as I have been teaching, the test string itself is not been changed. So if I look at test string, it'll still be the original. So let's say I save this to a variable called result1, and then I will show you result1. So I've assigned it over here. Now let's continue on and say I want to change this string even more, and I will lowercase this string and assign it to result2. And let me make sure it's result1. All right, so I'm going to take this thing and now lowercase it. So let's look at result2. Okay, great. It says it's in lowercase now, a hidden test string. Now let's create result3 and use result2. Let's go one more, and let's use the replace method. And let's say I want to replace, say, the value t with uppercase T for whatever reason. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at result3 like this. So we can see here that T has been successfully replaced with uppercase T. Okay, great. And maybe the very last thing I will do is we can maybe count the number of uppercase T's like this. All right. And so we'll take result3 and call the count method. And so there are 3 uppercase T's in that result3. All right. So notice how I did this in multiple lines. I called each method one at a time and then save the result to a new variable name. So it turns out you can actually do this with something called method chaining. You don't have to assign the variable first or the result to a new variable. So let's start again with rstrip. So here we go. So I'm going to take the original test string. I'm going to call rstrip. It will remove all those characters on the right hand side. Now what I can do is just place another dot right here. So this dot is saying, okay, this returns a string. So I'm just saying use another string method. So now I will just do dot lower from that string that has been produced. So this will work. Let's go look at it. And we can see it there. And now I'm going to do the next one in line, which was this replace. I'm just going to copy and paste it. Again, I'm just going to chain this. You can see how it's a chain of dots. So dot rstrip, dot lower, dot replace, dot count is the last one. And we'll see that there are 3 uppercase T's just like this. Okay, so that is what is meant by method chaining. It's not necessarily something that comes up all the time. A lot of times you'll just call one method. You won't have a method chain, but I wanted to bring it up just to show you that this is possible. Now, when you have a method chain, it's usually better to write it on multiple lines and to put each method on its own line like this. And oftentimes what you do in programming is you try to be nice and neat. So you line up the dots like this. Unfortunately, this will not work in Python. If you recall, you can't just go to the next line without escaping that line or doing something about it. So yeah, it says we have this indentation error. This doesn't work. So what we can do is we have to wrap the whole thing in parentheses. This is a way to get around Python's end of line requirements. So you can see here I put a parentheses all the way around it on all sides, or wrap the whole thing in parentheses. And now Python will just ignore the indentation. It doesn't care. It'll pretend this is all one single line on the same line thanks to this parentheses. So it looks a little weird with parentheses at the beginning and the end, but that's how you can write it on multiple lines. And the reason we want to write it on multiple lines is that it makes it nice and neat. And you can see that, okay, first it does rstrip, then it does lower, then it does replace, and finally it does count. It makes it a little bit more readable. Still not that bad in its original form, but just another way to write a method chain, and it's to do so on multiple lines. All right, so again, method chains are just simply a way to continually chain together methods that act on the result of the very previous method.